the whole Paul Nicholls novice hurdle thing is being so overplayed that he's out to 9-2. He's becoming a really good price.
Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel. I hope you're doing well. Andrew, we're here to talk more Cheltenham. We're 3 weeks away now. The day that this is going to go out is going to be 3 weeks away. I don't know about you, but I'm already losing hours of sleep just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez, you get some cold sweats thinking about some of the disasters that have happened before. You get those elated dreams. You wake up fantastic about life, remembering Duvan winning the Arkle in a hack canter, and you think, what's going to be the next one? Hopefully it will be Chacun-Pour-Soi this year, that we can finally get some champion chase justice in the world. But we're looking at the novice hurdler for this video, and 3 very competitive races, I must say.
Yeah, absolutely. You're dreaming about Milan native or Column of Fire. It's one or the other. It can be a shaky time. Sometimes I wake up with a big smile on my face, and sometimes, yeah, wake up a bit sad. It takes me a couple of hours to get going. But we are going to talk about the Supreme Novices Hurdle, the Ballymore and the Albert Bartlett, the 3 big Grade 1 novice hurdles. They usually produce horses that go on to achieve a lot in the game, so hopefully we've got a few to talk about now. But before we start, Andrew, just want to check in. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. These videos have been brilliant fun for us to do, and as we've said so many times on the other videos, we're really trying to do something a little bit different with this dynamic, and I'm really hoping everyone's enjoying it as much as we're enjoying making them. The videos have been very well received, very well liked. Some lovely comments down below. We've had some people saying, commenting about our chemistry, Josh. I don't know whether we need to play it down a little bit on our chemistry, both with girlfriends at the moment. But look, it's good fun. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and if you are doing so, obviously do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel down below if you are new around here and you're enjoying this Cheltenham content as we move on into the Supreme.
It was funny. Everyone was saying you had a haircut, new clothes, you're a new man, and you're going on the pull. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, I'm glad some lad mentioned it at least. Geez, it's very hard to get compliments these days, so I'm going to take whatever I can get. New haircut in. Sister did it last week, so you make do with what you have. So I've got to keep the hair short. I don't have luscious locks like yourself. I've got a receding hairline at the age of 21, so already struggling with what I have. So I've got to make do with the bare minimum.
You're like a 50-year-old bloke in a 21-year-old's body.
I think everyone thinks that. I've been on other channels. I've been on the finishing line before, and lads are looking to see my passport details. They just don't believe I'm 21. Well, I'll produce my passport at some stage because I am. But I can understand people thinking I may not be. The voice doesn't exactly give away the youth.
I've had quite a rough week actually. We got my little sister a hamster in January just as a lockdown present. One to make her smile and make sure that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I came down the other morning to his cage and he was gone, and it climbed under the sink and down a pipe, down a drain, and we had to put like dressing gown robes, like the ones that you tie around down. It's like a ladder for him to get out, and we put treats around the house to see if he would. And then this morning, the treats were gone and he was under the sofa, so we found him. But it's a difficult one. I was already lining up what I was going to say and how to tell my little sister that her favourite hamster's gone. Gladly, I didn't have to do that. Anyway, let's move on to the 3 great races, 3 great Grade 1s. And there's no finer way to start the festival than backing a winner. So we're going to try and find that horse in the Supreme. I say find that horse, I really can't like anything else but appreciate it. We must talk about him. He's a stayer with speed, and I was reading the Willie Mullins column in the Racing Post. If you haven't already, check that out. It's genuinely worth reading. Not that anything else isn't. But it was a really interesting read. And he said that he surprised him with how much speed he does have. And I think at the start of the season, many thought Fernie Hollow would be the 2-mile horse. Appreciate It would go up. I think people were even talking about the Albert Bartlett would Appreciate It. That's how much they thought he was going to be a stayer. And I think it's all credit to Willie Mullins. I mentioned it on a previous podcast, where he's able to adapt to the situation. And when Fernie Hollow was unfortunately out, he made Appreciate It the Supreme horse, and it looks like a masterstroke now. He's won 2 Grade 1s over 2 miles, beaten pretty much all the best Irish Novices in the process. I don't know about you, and it's interesting to hear your thoughts, because I know you're a big fan of the horse. I just don't see any depth in this race whatsoever. At the moment, on face value, it looks one of the weakest, if not the weakest, Supreme Novice Hurdle I've looked at before going into a festival since I've started my love for the game. Metier, I don't know what his form's come up to. He beat Shaking Up Harry in the Tolworth, and he ran no sort of race in the Betfair. And he's the second market rival. Do you think Appreciate It's just in a league of his own? I know he's not the sexy Supreme horse that we've come to love, but he just looks bomb-proof.
Yeah, well, I think he looks rock solid. No favourite, unfortunately, at Cheltenham is completely bomb-proof, but as people that backed him in the bumper last year will know, I thought he was a very solid chance in the bumper last year, and he just got pinned by his own stablemate. I think actually, again, the only way he might lose this race is to a stablemate. I just don't know. I understand people have been on to me a bit, because I've maybe rubbished the claims of Metier a few times, and that's probably wrong of me to do so, because he does bring, good, he's won the Tolworth Hurdle by 12 lengths or something. He could be very good, and I know obviously Shishkin went into the race last year only having won the Sydney Banks of Huntington, beating Sham Blue, and at the time I was very sceptical about that form, and he proved me wrong completely. But it's so hard to know with Metier. For every Shishkin you have, you also have a Fiddler on the Roof. Fiddler on the Roof won the Tolworth last year by 8 lengths. Everyone, every wise guy in the place thought he'd be in the first 4 or 5 in the Supreme and ran no race. Very hard to quantify. Just the form on face value doesn't look strong from the Tolworth. Beating Shake 'em Up Harry, Do Your Job. There was a couple of horses on there on their hurdling debut in that race, and there was also a horse trained by Chris Honor who then went back into a maiden hurdle and got beat back into third at Exeter. So I don't know, it doesn't look great on face value. I can see the angle in terms of that he is unexposed. He could be better, but you're getting it's a fairly skimpy price, I'd have thought, about Metier for a horse that could easily be just another Fiddler on the Roof.
People are bringing up the fact that one that was too quick for him won the bumper last year, and I'd agree. Fernie Hollow would probably be he would be first choice in this race if he was still around and still in training. But the one thing that I find looking at this is there is no Fernie Hollow. None of the horses in the betting behind him are as good as Fernie Hollow, and showed as much as Fernie Hollow. And 2, he's going to be ridden differently. Paul Tanning could just bounce out in front, almost a Ruby-esque ride on the Vatours, etc., make call and then kick on, and I just don't see how anything comes near him. He's a big, beautiful horse, and he's going to make a brilliant chaser. But I really can't see past him in this. The another market rival that's sort of similar price to Metier is Ballyadam, and a few people are talking him up as well. He obviously came on a heck of a lot at the Dublin Racing Festival compared to when he was so disappointing at Christmas at Leopardstown. He's made a big jump and he has improved, I will say that. But he's still, for me, he always looked held. There may have been a 2-second part of the race where you go, he could potentially pick up, but he didn't. That would just put me off. I'm not sure how much you can improve then from that to this.
No, I don't know with Ballyadam. It just seems to be one of these horses that people have their notions about. I can see the each way angle beside him. He's run a few honourable races. He obviously won the Royal Bond Novices Hurdle. The form of that's probably not brilliant, but he did well given the circumstances to win. I would, you can completely discount the run at Christmas, to be fair, because Gordon's weren't running too well. He didn't run up to form, but I'd just be worried that the Dublin Racing Festival race there is what he is, and I just can't comprehend. He's probably the right price, around 8 or 9 to 1. But I would ask actually anyone that's watching this race, if this horse wasn't trained or wasn't owned by Cheveley Park, we wouldn't be thinking he'd have any chance of reversing the form with Appreciated. It's just the Cheveley Park thing. And Cheveley Park, Gordon Elliott, people are getting these notions in their head that he can reverse the form, and yet we know nothing to suggest that he can reverse that form. Absolutely nothing.
I think coming into this season, he had probably a similar profile to... He wasn't a champion bumper winner, but I think people were talking about his price tag and the way that Jamie Codd was saying that he's probably the best young horse that he's ever ridden, and he's ridden the likes of Envoy Allen, who's obviously in the same silks. I think people do just think and still hold on to those. And look, it's something that works out. Jamie Codd is a brilliant judge, and he will know how good a horse is. But Ballyadam's proven to be a Grade 1 contender. I just don't see him being a better horse over 2 miles than appreciate it as a novice. That's my concern. Soaring Glory won the Betfair Hurdle at the weekend. Impressive. The plan came together. He won off 133. I think on face value, that's very well in. How much do you think he'll go up in the handicap? And could they potentially swerve this and go to a county hurdle? Because will he go up £12 to 145? That's a reasonable mark in a county hurdle.
Yeah, I'd say he'd go up the guts of £10-12 for that. He won with plenty in hand. First couple were well clear as well. And it was one of those that was probably staring at you in the Betfair Hurdle of 133. I think a lot of people almost didn't believe it was too good to be, like it was too good to be true, and it ended up that a very well executed plan. I don't think he'll rock up in a county hurdle. I do think he'll turn up in this. Betfair Hurdle winners in the past that have been novices have gone on to run in this. They don't have a good record in the race. They very rarely, I don't think there actually has been a single winner of the Betfair Hurdle that's gone on to win a Supreme. Some have run well. You've got the likes of My Tenter Yours, Kalashnikov, obviously, in more recent years have gone on to run very well in a Supreme. But that would have to be a bit of a negative for him. And also the fact that, a couple of his graded performances, he was well put in his place by Dusart at Newbury. He then was beaten by My Drogo at Ascot as well. That would cause a bit for concern. That being said, if you looked back then to his first run of the season, beating Bravemansgame, looks red hot form in the book. So he's a classy horse. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he is a Grade 1 horse. But we might be waiting until the Novice Hurdle at Aintree over 2 miles maybe to see him to best effect.
Yeah, I only mentioned the county hurdle because I don't think that he is a Supreme Novice Hurdle winner quality. I think he could place in a Supreme Novice Hurdle, but I'd be tempted. John Joe has a good record at targeting handicaps, and I'd be tempted to see on Tuesday morning how much he goes up for that win, and if he doesn't go up £12, and let's say he had a mark of the low 140s, and you maybe could look at a handicap over this, and he'd have to go there with a big chance. Out of the rest of them, the Devil's Coachman, Blue Lord, Ganapathy, Third Time Lucky, Bareback Jack, do you think any of these have got a good chance in this, or even where's the place value? Yeah,
well, the Devil's Coachman's a horse I really like. That being said, I don't think he'll run in the Supreme this year. I think he's still quite a raw horse, horse I'd like to see in a year or two's time running a novice chase at the festival. The one I think is potentially the place value in this, especially given his price in comparison to Ballyadam, is Blue Lord. Him being double the price of Ballyadam just doesn't look right to me. I thought he was closing on him at the line in that Dublin Racing Festival 2 mile race behind Appreciated. He was given an awful lot to do by Brian Cooper that day. I think it was a little bit... he obviously ran in the Laurels and Ace race behind Bob Olinger over 2.5 and was too keen and didn't finish out his race. And I assume the instructions to Brian Cooper was to make sure the horse finished his race well. And potentially found himself a little far back. It did that race did suit horses on the front end, so I think that can be upgraded as a result. And I think a strong 2 miles might suit this horse, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to run into a place. And if I was, to be honest, I said earlier, if Appreciated was to be beaten, it might be by a stablemate. It might be him if it was to be by anyone, but I do think that the favourite is a rock solid favourite at that.
Third Time Lucky, it'd be interesting to see if he's entered in the county hurdle. I know the handicap entries are coming out pretty much soon. I don't know when it is specifically, but it could be in the next few days, so worth keeping note. I think he's got a nice mark and could go well in a county hurdle. We'll move on then to the Ballymore. A brilliant race this looks like. Gaillard de Mesnil, Bob Olinger and Bravemansgame dominating the betting. Gaillard de Mesnil favourite. We had a conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was after the Dublin Racing Festival, and we said that we couldn't quite work out why Gaillard de Mesnil was favourite out of the three, and we'd probably switch it other ways round. For the people that haven't watched that, which way would you switch it round?
I personally would make Bravemansgame and Bob Olinger maybe joint favourites with Gaillard de Mesnil, maybe a point bigger. I do think they're three very smart horses. They've all won their Grade 1s very impressively going into this race, and as much as there's 3 seriously good horses, there's very little depth, I don't think, to this Ballymore. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if these horses were all bang there in the finish. Bravemansgame did it lovely in the Shallow Hurdle, beating Stargate and the Glancing Queen. Obviously Bob Olinger beat Blue Lord, which looks decent enough form, and Gaillard de Mesnil beat Stattler, and Gentleman's Game. Gentleman's Game won't be running at Cheltenham, but he's a lovely horse, and Stattler has a great chance in the Albert Bartlett, I believe. So all of them come with good form to the table. I don't know. I feel I've got my Josh Stacey head on with the Ballymore, though, because I've been good friends with you for a couple of years now, and the amount of Paul Nicholls horses you've talked up, Harry Cobden riding, Harry Cobden this, Harry Cobden that, and then you rock up to this race, which is a prime, possibly the best novice hurdler Paul Nicholls has trained in potentially a decade, since the Denman days. And you're going to tell me you're opposing him, and I'm going to tell you that Harry Cobden's all this and Harry Cobden's all that, and I think Bravemansgame takes an awful lot of beating in this race. People will bandy about the Shallow Hurdle stats. He's won the Shallow by 10 lengths. 10 lengths. The likes of Champ won the Shallow Hurdle by 3 lengths. Time Hill, 2.5 lengths. 10 lengths. Stargate went into that race. People thought he was going to be a proper Grade 1 horse. He still may well be. The Glancing Queen's a listed Grade 3 mare. He was galloping wild about Oscar into the ground down the back, to the extent where he made a bad mistake, had to be pulled up. He won a listed race by 12 lengths next time out. Don't know where people want to go with this Bravemansgame. He's got the best form at face value in the race. Yeah. And I do think at this stage the whole Paul Nicholls novice hurdle thing is being so overplayed that he's out to 9-2. He's becoming a really good price for the race, given what he's done. And Harry Cobden, I've always told you, Josh, he's just the man for the big occasion, and I think he's going to steer home Bravemansgame, and it'll be the one Paul Nicholls horse you won't have backed.
It's one of those where I look at this race and I think I completely agree with you. I think Bravemansgame is the solid horse in the race. I think that he's an absolute beast. He's huge. He travels so well. He looks like he stays forever, and he's going to take the world of beating in the RSA next year, or the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. First of all, Gaillard de Mesnil's got gears to burn. I was so impressed with him at the Dublin Racing Festival straight after the race, but then looking back at it, he's almost beaten 3 milers, hasn't he? I don't think he's beaten a speed horse yet, and that would probably tame my enthusiasm with him. Bob Olinger, he's 9-2 with Betway. I think that's a bet. He stays, he's speedy, he's got the wow factor, and the only horse that's beaten him over hurdles this season is Fernie Hollow, and he would probably be extremely short for a Supreme Novice Hurdle if he didn't have his injury. And I don't think that's bad form at all. He's won the Grade 1, the Lawlers and Ace, and he beat quick horses there, and he also beat stayers. Bravemansgame, he's an absolute tank, and any other year, or any other race, I'd be all over him. I've loved him all season. And to be honest, I was at Exeter the first time that he won over hurdles, and in the paddock, I just thought he's one of the most beautiful horses. Hopefully, when we get to go back racing, we can see him in the paddock, and he's just put together. You couldn't make a better horse if you tried to draw one out. He's just got everything, yeah, he's going to be a seriously good chaser. I just feel that he might come up short here to Bob Olinger, who might be a slightly more speedier type, and then we'll build on and have a brilliant career. But yeah, it's a tricky one, and you know, you've got to take your Paul Nicholls buyer's cap off. I just think that Bob Ollinger's slightly quicker, so I'll be backing him if it came down to a speed test. Bear, Gills and Adrimal are the 2 horses that I've picked out that I've probably got decent form. Adrimal's probably the second best British horse in the race. He might go for the Bartlett. I don't know. That race at Warwick was funny. He's 25-1, non-runner, no bet. I just don't think he's good enough, and probably could go for the Bartlett. And Bear Gills, he leaves a lot to be desired in the jumping department. There's an engine there for sure, but he just doesn't jump well enough to be picking up any of these front 3 for me. Do you think there's a bet at all, a tri-cast with the front 3?
I suppose that there may be. As I said earlier, there doesn't look to be a whole heap of depth. I'd echo what you said there. I think Adrimal has it to find on that Warwick race. They were all in a bunch at the finish. I know the 4th horse was Frank the Form, but wouldn't be for me. And Bear Gills, like, I saw a lot of people kind of, you know, jumping up and down about him winning at Exeter off a mark of 130. I think I could have won that race off a mark of 130, to be honest. It wasn't one of the stronger races for its grade, and he just is a very ignorant horse over hurdles. Like, he's got good form, some good form. Like, he beat Gaillard at Foss Lass, and he's gone on to win twice at Newbury since. So, as you say, there's a big engine there. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this horse actually almost needs to go over a fence just to respect an obstacle an awful lot more, because he shows hurdles absolutely no respect. Just going back to the front three, I do agree with you an awful lot on Bob Olinger. I was probably a little bit like yourself with Gaillard de Mesnil. I was a bit snippy about Bob Olinger probably just directly after that Nace run. I wasn't sure, but the more and more you look at it, the more and more he did it very nicely. And the way the connections talk about him, they know he's a very good horse. So to be honest, I just think at the prices, if you had 20 quid and you put a tenner on Bravemansgame and a tenner on Bob Olinger, you wouldn't be too far wrong. I know you're putting out, because I'm just echoing, you're saying what an awful lot of people have asked me before about, you know, the shallow hurdle and Paul Nicholls' novice hurdle form and stuff like that. But can you name off any horse in the last 5 or 6 years that Paul Nicholls has had as a novice hurdler that's coming into a race looking as good as Bravemansgame?
I couldn't name you one horse that's half as good as Bravemansgame going into it. I think he's an absolute weapon. I just think Bob Olinger is extremely good as well. And for me, it's almost a toss of a coin, but there's something about that Lords and Ace race. He's the one for me. I'm going to go with that. Okay,
well, I'll be there with my Harry Cobden fan club hat on. It's going to be like
I'll lend it to you.
It's going to be like last year, where it was album photo and Delta work. You were in my ear all week leading up. Delta work this, Delta work that. Just stick to what you know.
Stick to what, not a fat lot. Let's move on to the Albert Bartlett then, over 3 miles, and there's a few in this. There isn't a specific market leader like the other races. Fakiera and Stattler are almost joint favourites at 7-1. Barbados Bucks, Farouk Delaine, Tory Graph, and it's sort of 16-1 bar those. Out of Fakiera and Stattler, which one would you be more inclined to be backing in this?
Definitely Stattler between those two. Fakiera has turned into the mother of all wise guys horse for this race. I can't stop. I can't go anywhere. I actually can't even go down to buy a paper in the shop without somebody telling me about Fakiera in the Albert Bartlett. The simple and salient facts are these. He's just very slow. And I understand 3 miles may suit him and all that, but I just looked at the Nathaniel Lacey race, the one that Gaillard de Mesnil won. And I know Stattler ended up coming third and Gentleman's Game pipped him for second, but I think Stattler is the one to take out of that race.
He's the only one that tried to put it up to Gaillard de Mesnil.
Exactly, and probably his exertions trying to beat him on the home turn has lost him second. But, I don't know, Fakiera was never just in the race. Like, it was just a complete also ran for 2 mile 5 furlongs, and then it's kind of plugged past beaten horses, the likes of Ashdale Bob, Holy Macapony, these horses that were weakening out of it, and he's just plugged on, same pace. I'd just be concerned he's always going to do that, and is he going to be running on into 5th in the Albert Bartlett, same pace. If you stuck Fakiera in the National Hunt Chase next year or something, yeah, of course, he might have a chance in that over a real extreme trip. He might be an Irish national horse in years to come, but he wouldn't be for me in this. I just think he lacks a little bit of class almost.
When you look back at that and you're looking for one to take out of it, it's hard for him not to catch the eye. I mean, he does stay so well, and the extra 2 furlongs might suit, and that was sort of my initial reaction. But I did learn that Jack Kennedy got a bit of a talking to after the ride. I think he was told to track the pace, and he said that he just couldn't go any quicker. Before Davy Russell announced that he's not going to be riding at the festival, there was whispers that Davy might go on Fakiera and Jack might pick out the 2 Jigginstown ones because he wouldn't be massively keen riding Fakiera in this. So that might be something to take out of that. Davy's now obviously not riding at the festival, so I'm not sure how that affects that situation. But I was told, in fact we'll get onto the horse slightly later, that he was going to pick one of the 2 Jigginstown horses. So that's an interesting one as well. Barbados Bucks, sort of 3rd favourite. Now I'm a big fan of Paul Nicholls, but I give you 20 to 1 on this horse. He's rated 139. I'm going to use your phrase. He won 2 Mickey Mouse Class 4 novice hurdles at Southwell, and it was impressive at Kempton, but nothing's really come out of the race, and I think it'd be a poor at Bartlett if Barbados Bucks was to win, especially when you go from a horse like Monkfish last year to our Barbados Bucks. I think he'll be a good horse in time, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's running around Wincanton in the Badger Ales at some point in the future. But for me, I'm not sure that he's up to Grade 1 novice hurdle level. Farouk Delaine 12 to 1, plenty of experience, and that's the profile that you're looking for going into the race. Do you think he's got a chance?
Yeah, I thought at the start of the season he must have a very good chance. He went up to Down Royal, won the maiden hurdle of Fury Road, won it very impressively. I just was very disappointed when he went to Navan for a Grade 2. He jumped well out to his right that day, which is a major concern, especially around Cheltenham. You'd only have to tell Asterion Forlange what it's like jumping out to his right around there. You just can't get away with it. So it would be something to just bear in mind. Then went to Limerick around Christmas time and won, beat Vanillier, Gavin Cromwell's, who was well beaten in the Nathaniel Lacey after that. Hard to know what to make of that form. I think it can be upgraded because Gordon's weren't running great over Christmas. The fact he won it all was probably a good effort, but I still think he's got a bit to find, and it's been all very quiet about him recently. There was no talk of him going to Leopardstown for that Nathaniel Lacey race. Wouldn't surprise me if that Limerick run took an awful lot out of him. That being said, that Limerick race that he won was obviously won by Fury Road, very close to winning the race last year, and was won by Penn Hill a couple of years ago, who did go on to win the Bartlett. So it is the type of race that horses have won before and have gone on to win or run well in the Bartlett. So that's something to bear in mind, but he probably wouldn't be for me.
I'd echo your thoughts there. The second Jigginstown horse, and the one that Jack Kennedy was supposedly going to ride in the race, is Tory Graph. Now, he was 20 to 1 about a week ago. He's into a general price of 12. I think people are costing on to that. He's still 14 to 1 with Bet365. He looked like a different horse over 3. And the horse that he beat was a horse called Angel's Dawn, and she finished second in the Grade 3 at Navan at the weekend behind Frontal Assault. So that form doesn't look awful. He travels a lot better than Fakiera, and he seems to stay. I was really encouraged by the way that he came away in the final strides on his last run. He could be the one, and if Jack Kennedy has chosen him, if that's true, if he's chosen him out of the 3, then that would be a big tip in itself, because he's got plenty to choose from. Yeah,
exactly. Look, he's a really progressive horse, Tory Graph. He did it nicely the last day at Thurles. I think it was the race that Monkfish won last year before going on to win the race as well. So that's something to bear in mind. Beating Angel's Dawn and Fighter Allen and Willie Mullins, who's a well-regarded horse as well. So that looks decent enough for him in the book. As you say, people have cottoned on to it now, and I don't know at what stage does he become not that great a price. He was a good price at 20 to 1. 12 to 1's probably fair. But if he was to suddenly go into 8 or 9 to 1, I'm not sure he becomes much of a price. I don't think he's a world beater. But that being said, I do look at this Bartlett last year. You get almost false notions about the Bartlett because of the 4 that finished so close together last year. And it might be just back to the Bartletts of old this year. There doesn't look to be a real standout Monkfish in there, to be honest. Maybe there is, and we haven't, it just hasn't unearthed yet. But like, Stattler's the favourite, Stattler's the right favourite, but you're not going to be running scared of Stattler at the same time. And the fact that we're only 3 weeks out from a Grade 1 at Cheltenham and it's 7 to 1 the field would tell you all you need to know. There's no world beaters in this, and it may go to somebody that fits more of the stats and the experienced horses. And we've seen big priced winners of this before, and maybe that might happen again.
I have my Paul Nicholls cap on, and you've got the front 4 in the Bartlett form cap on. You absolutely love that form, and it's turned out to be brilliant, so absolutely hats off. Interesting then, so if we're going to go through all 3 of them, I'm going to go Appreciate It, Bob Olinger, and at the moment Tory Graph. I would be less confident with that selection, and that probably could change before the race. I don't think I've changed my mind on the first 2. What about yourself?
I'm going to go for Appreciate It. I think he's rock solid. Bravemansgame for the master, Harry Cobden. And in the Bartlett, I would be siding with Stattler as my solid pick, but one I just want to give a very quick mention to. I've mentioned there doesn't look like there's a world beater in there. Horse that may run on Thursday called Streets of Doyen, trained by John McConnell. You can currently get 33 to 1, non-runner, no bet about him. I think that might be worth taking. I've taken a little bit of that at 33. He was campaigned during the summer months, beat Flooring Porter actually back in September time. He ran over at Cheltenham in the October meeting, won a 3-mile novice hurdle with Dickie Johnson on. John McConnell's had a few successful raids over to Cheltenham in the recent years, and hopefully that horse might run well and maybe worth a little bit of a play at 33 to 1, non-runner, no bet before he runs on Thursday. But those are all myself and Josh's thoughts for the big novice hurdles at the Cheltenham Festival. We'd love to know what you guys are thinking for those big 3 races down below. If you could give us a selection for each of the 3, we'd love to hear it, love to know who you'll be backing come the big races. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, do make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here and you're enjoying the dynamic. And hopefully we'll see you all very soon for another Cheltenham Festival video.